Hey, Seth Varnadore.
Yes.
We are coming to you live from the home of the Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. But we're not here to talk about hockey. We are here to discuss three football games for the college football fans this weekend. We have Texas A&M against Alabama, Oklahoma against Iowa State in the who is more disappointing so far ball, and Auburn against Georgia. We will start with A&M and Alabama, Jimbo Fisher versus Nick Saban. Right now, the total is 51.5, but I think the more interesting number is that Alabama is laying 17.5 at home. The A&M is 2-4 against the spread in their last six, but they've gone under in the last 5 games as well. So keep that in mind. Even with Kellen Mond at quarterback, they don't seem to hit the number. And Texas A&M are 0-7 straight up in the last 7 games against Alabama. And I think the last time they won, Johnny Manziel was quarterback. So what do you see so far, Seth, in this game in ways that we might be able to beat this number?
Each team's only played one game. There is some kind of noise, I think, in the numbers a little bit. But you look at the yards per play number, both teams are pretty high up there, and these rankings are out of 72. Texas A&M surprisingly high on the yards per play. Now, they did have a few huge plays that might be kind of boosting that number, but still not bad. And then you see third downs. Alabama was very good on offense and kind of meh on defense, and Texas A&M was kind of meh on both. Then the explosive plays are pretty similar. Turnover margin not too dissimilar. And surprisingly, the talent level was very close. When you think Jimbo Fisher's kind of sneakily put together a really, really good talent base there. Just looking at, we'll go through some stuff real quick with both these teams. Texas A&M was able to run the ball well but it was against Vanderbilt. But they were able to run the ball well. They do some option stuff. So there's a little triple option. Not my thing is they're not getting a ton of movement. Here's some just regular speed option. Get their back on the perimeter, and he's able to go out and make an explosive run there. Alabama saw some option against Missouri, and they played it very well, as you would imagine. They also saw a little triple option, and they blew it up. They are, as usual, Nick Saban defenses are pretty stout. Now, here's one of the huge runs for Texas A&M. This is what worries me. If I pause it right here against a bad Vanderbilt team, that is not promising. Against Alabama, I think that's a tackle for loss in the backfield. He's able to break a tackle and breaks off a huge run. I think this is kind of to get them going at first play of the third quarter here. You have a big run that kind of springs you and get some life in your offense. And then this is, I think, the very next play. Just in nothing against Vanderbilt. To their credit, they play well in defense. They play kind of a in-your-face style. You'll see here. They'll show pressure. He'll bail out, but they'll just be playing press man coverage here. This is what I think they'll try to do to take away some of the Alabama run-pass option stuff. But they're not afraid to play aggressive. Now, you can kind of pick them a little bit with that man coverage. And Vanderbilt gets out on the edge here. Now, if that's Alabama, if that's Jalen Waddle, you're in trouble. Again, if you're play man coverage, you probably won't win every play. Just bringing a blitz. They get caught out a little bit here. Really good throw, really good catch, but still aggressive defense. Now, Alabama has some big players, and if you want to play man coverage, well, they're going to make throws down the field. Here's a cool little mesh concept, and instead of sitting down over the ball, they have Waddle. A lot of times, when I have a guy sit over the ball, they have Waddle just keep running deep crosser. So if it's man coverage, the mesh takes guys out of the way, and now he's one-on-one running all the way across the field. Then you put him in the slot. He beats the safety and the nickelback for another touchdown. And then this is what Alabama's added in the last few years. This is a straight run play here, just a straight wide zone. But he gets held because Alabama runs so much RPO now. He gets held by the threat of RPO, but this is just a straight run play. I don't think there's a pass game attached to it. And he's able to get out the front for a big run here.
This just seems like a spot where Alabama might just come in and blow the doors off a team that might be a little bit overrated. And if you're playing that kind of press man coverage against Alabama, they're going to take shots and they're going to go over your head. They're going to beat you. If you play a little softer and give up some underneath stuff, make them think and dunk it a little possibly. But I don't. I mean, 17.5 seems like they could have that. Halftime.
Yeah, the one thing is Texas A&M is pretty good on defense, and Jimbo Fisher's been known to take the air out of the ball. Texas A&M
Yes.
only ran 55 plays last week. I think you might be able to see early what pace is this game played at. If it's played at a higher pace, then I think Alabama will definitely kind of pull away and might be able to hit that number. If it's really slowed down, then maybe something to look for early if you want to go in game. If the pace is really slow, that number is going to shrink.
And again, under in the last 5 Texas A&M games. We move on to Oklahoma and Iowa State in the Disappointment Bowl. Oklahoma blew a 24, 28-point lead. Was it 28? It was a lot.
It was quite a bit.
It was 20-something in the second half with 20 minutes left. They were up 20-something, then lost to a Kansas State team that I think went touchdown, field goal, or 5 straight possessions within 15 minutes and scored 5 times, 31 points. Yeah. So, and then Iowa State, maybe the most disappointing opening of the season was a Sun Belt team. Oklahoma is a 7-point favorite on the road. Iowa State, the total is 62.5. Oklahoma is only 2-7 against the spread in their last 9. Some Lincoln Riley shine coming off possibly a little bit. But on the other hand, Matt Campbell is 0-6 in his last 6 against the spread for Iowa State. So these are 2 teams that had high expectations going into the season. A lot of people had Iowa State as the dark horse darling at 15-1 to possibly win the league. That's probably not going to happen now. What do we see?
Okay, so when you look at the numbers here, despite kind of what seems like a lot of negativity around the Oklahoma program, their offense is still very good. They're 6th in the country in yards per play on offense. You can see Iowa State's kind of middle of the pack again. These are out of 72 teams. The defenses, you think Iowa State defense and all the stuff they get about their interesting scheme and unique scheme, they're pretty much the same yards per play as Oklahoma's, who everyone thinks is terrible. When you look at third downs, Oklahoma's 13th in the country on offense. Iowa State's 54, again, out of 72 teams. And surprisingly, Oklahoma is first in third down defense through 2 games. And then Oklahoma can generate the explosive plays on offense. The big number, why they lost last week, is that turnover margin. But the talent there's a big talent disparity here. So you'll see here, there's a big talent disparity, but here's why Oklahoma lost last week. So right here, it's kind of unlucky. So they're running mesh. You got the guy that's sitting over the ball, right? Crossers. This is the right read. There's a huge hole there. But what happens, the ball gets tipped and it gets intercepted. So that's one interception. Right here is Y cross. It's a staple of the air raid. He's got to go route. He's coming into this huge hole right here. That should probably be the throw. It's called Y cross. That's the Y crossing. But a little bit of a, freshman mistake. Take a shot, underthrow it a little bit, and it gets picked. Here's another one. You got third down. Just put it on one of these guys. He's trying to wait for something to come open. It doesn't. Again, this is a staple of their offense, and he gets sacked. Then at the end of the game, he just steps up, tries to rush a throw. It's a bad throw, gets picked. So that's why they lost last week. Iowa State's going to try to do a bunch of different things. So they love to use 3 safeties, and they'll use them differently. So here, those are their safeties, but watch how they change coverages kind of. So here, the safeties will get deep, and the corners will play flat. So corners flat, safeties all getting deep thirds. Next time they run it, now the corners are getting deep thirds. You have a safety coming down, and then one safety running in the middle of the field. So it's like 2 different the same look, 2 different coverages. So that's what they're going to try to do and confuse Rattler. Again, same thing. You see the corners get depth. Safeties are coming downhill for the run. But TCU had some success with RPOs and play action stuff. And Oklahoma has that built in. They love to run the football. So these RPOs and play action shots are in their offense. You can see here, fitting into tight windows. Again, off play action or RPO. And again, here for the touchdown.
So let me ask you something. I watched the second half of this game, and I saw Oklahoma's line, just maybe offensive line, maybe not holding up the way that I had thought they would with the kind of talent level that they have against Kansas State. It seems like not that Rattler was good, but he certainly had the pocket collapsing around him, rushing him a little bit. What did you see out of that line?
Yeah, I think everyone expected them to be pretty good. They had some, you could see the pocket being pushed in some of those previous clips, but that's going to have to be kind of. They love to run the ball, and they use the RPO stuff to they kind of trick you. And now they got this guy thinking pass, he's not sure what to do, and then they're able to fit it up in there. But
I mean, and that's perfectly blocked.
yeah,
that run block.
they're gonna have to play. They're gonna have to play better. There was some push in the pocket. You saw some of those throws. Rather having to move around and make a little bit throws off platform, but that should be one of the stronger units on their team. And if they don't perform well, obviously that's going to get you in trouble. Iowa State has not been great on offense, but they produced some explosive runs. Here's just one. Looks like a straight inside zone. Last week against TCU, they had a few big runs like this that kind of got them going last week. They have not been able to throw the ball that well this year, which is surprising with the quarterback. And I just watching it, I think it was just one of those weeks for Oklahoma where when you block a kick, I think you win like 75% of the time. And when you're +3 in the turnover margin, or it's something, there's a crazy number when you block a kick. And then when you're +3 in the turnover margin, it's a really high number. I'd imagine when you're +3 in the turnover margin and you block a kick, you're going to win. A lot of times by blowout, and Oklahoma lost by 3. So, I think they're undervalued this week. I think talent-wise, they're better than 7 points. I think they're moving the ball on offense. That hasn't seemed to be a problem. And Iowa State has not looked great on either side of the ball this year.
Yeah, I tend to think so as well. 7.5 is definitely a little tougher to swallow here, but at 7 or less, it just seems like Oklahoma should be able to get it together and be able to clean up the things that they, if you're right about the talent's there. What I saw were just breakdowns, repeated breakdowns.
And some of it was just freshman quarterback mistakes. Instead of just doing my normal reads, just take what my normal progression is. I'm just trying to fit balls into places I shouldn't, and then they turn into picks. So you'd think he'd learn from that, especially with how good Lincoln Riley is with quarterbacks. But yeah, I think if you're looking at something in game here, the Big 12 has that Mario Kart rubber band difficulty where once the one team gets way out ahead, they seem to rubber band the other team seems to rubber band back in the game. That happened last year. I think Oklahoma was up 14, ended up only winning by 1. So that may be something. If Oklahoma, if one of these teams gets up early, we saw Oklahoma come back last year against Baylor. One of these teams gets up early, maybe the other team might get a good number on them with the rubber band effect coming back around.
The best rubber band team, by the way, in the Big 12, always Texas Tech. Texas Tech gets buried early, and they just boomerang. It comes right back every time, never doubt. We'll move on to the last game. Auburn, Georgia. It is in Athens. Total is only 45. Georgia's 6.5-point favorite right now. Auburn is 11-4 against the spread in their last 15. Auburn is only 1-6 though against the spread in their last 7 against Georgia. And Georgia's 6-0 at home in their last 6 games against Auburn at home. Under has gone in 9 of Georgia's last 10. Georgia looked like 2 different teams last week. First half, they looked terrible. Yeah. Second half, they really put it all together and played much better. What did you see in the difference? Besides getting the turnover, the pick early that seemed to swing the momentum a little bit, what did you see in Georgia between the first half and the second half that made a difference?
Yeah, I mean, they made that quarterback switch. That seemed to be the biggest thing. Right. Just the quarterback switch. I don't think they need, as much as they all hated Jake Fromm, if they had Jake Fromm last week, they'd probably win by 40 points. They don't need a super stud out there. They've got a lot of talented guys. They need somebody to just make good decisions with the ball and get it out there.
So you're saying with maybe Jake Fromm or Justin Fields or
yeah, Justin Fields would obviously help a little bit, but any of them would have been good. So we see here, looking at the numbers, neither team was great on offense. But you see the offenses did not perform very well. We're not very explosive. But both defenses are, I think, legit. Now, Georgia, just watching, and you see the talent here. Georgia's number 1 in the composite, number 1 most talented team. Auburn's 13th. But Georgia just jumps off the film. So we'll start here with Auburn's offense. We talked about last week that Auburn's going to need to be able to throw the ball better to cover, and they did. They threw the ball pretty well. You can see Patrick Nix has some talent. I just don't know how much talent is around him. He's got some pretty good players like Seth Williams, but this is a really good
Seth, you're an old man. Patrick Nix was his father.
Did I say Patrick Nix? Oh, yeah, Yeah, I saw
As
Patrick
old as I
Nix.
am.
I saw Patrick Nix throw a touchdown to Frank Sanders in the swamp to beat number 1 Florida. That hurt. Yeah, so Bo Nix throws to Seth Williams. I remember that guy's first name. Deep crosser. Again, same concept that we showed for Oklahoma. Drops it in the bucket here on a wheel route to Eli Stove. But this is what worries me a little bit with their passing game. They scored 4 touchdowns. These 2 are insane. I mean, you look how high he's got to go in traffic to make that play. And then they get on the goal line, run an RPO, and he just throws up the fade. But these are great catches, but these are not Georgia's defensive backs. And then they'll throw a screen out here. This guy's a legit track speed guy, Anthony Schwartz. I think he's low tens or maybe lower. Very fast. But you'll see here, Georgia's defense, I think, was like the best unit I saw last weekend. Watch how they play screen here. Even with a blitz, you think, I got a blitz called? This is the perfect call for this blitz, the screen. No, that linebacker is coming downhill like his hair's on fire. And then here you got an RPO. It's open. That's the read. The guy came from the RPO, throw it. You're going to get smoked by the safety. You better hold on because you're going to get hit regardless. Again, that's the right read where these guys come down here. Let's try a trick play. They're just relentless.
Oh.
They are fast and aggressive, and they are not afraid to get up in your face right here. Man coverage, beat the receiver to the spot on what's supposed to be a pick. Take it to the house. Georgia's defense is just so impressive to me. I'd have a hard time picking against them. So Auburn will blitz you as well. Now here Kentucky hits it. But what's interesting is their defense coordinator, Kevin Steele, he'll bring pressure. So right here, he brings the pressure. Kentucky hits the screen and gets a good play against it. That's 3rd and 9. Well, here's the next third down. It's 3rd and 8. He shows pressure. Now they jump off sides here to negate this, but he shows the same pressure, drops out of it, and actually has this guy go play deep half safety. He rotates to this half, and they're playing a cover 2 or 2 deep look out of that. So he's going to give whoever's Georgia quarterback is, he's going to give him some confusing looks. And here the drop out, rally the ball. Georgia, once they put in Stetson Bennett, they move the ball much better. Now, here's what I worry about if I'm Georgia. Auburn's going to blitz like this. This Stetson Bennett is a former walk-on, not the most athletic guy. You know, how's he going to handle the blitz? Here they try to bring pressure late. He's able to avoid it, get it out to George Pickens, who's a really good receiver. So if I'm getting one-on-ones from Auburn, I got to hit these plays. Here's another slot fade, just a little wide, but these are the shots you're going to have to hit if Auburn wants to play aggressive defense. And here's another thing just to keep in the back of your mind as you're thinking about a number. This is an extra point here. Auburn's got like the muddle huddle thing going on or the swinging gate. So they may try to steal a 2-point conversion here or there. That's how they got to 29 last week. Just something to keep in the back of your mind.
That is a map forward move by Malzahn there, being at 7-6 to go for the 2. That is newfangled football right there for sure. This might be one of those where you're worried about Georgia scoring defensively, which I think they did twice last week. If you've got the under and you've got it all handicapped out perfectly, and then just scoop and score 1 and pick 6 you just shrug. What can you do?
Yeah, well, I'm looking at this game. Auburn was not able to really run the ball too well last week against Kentucky. I don't think it's going to get any better against Georgia. And some of those throws that they hit aren't going to be there against Georgia. You saw how physical and fast that Georgia defense is. I'm really, I think under is a good play regardless because it seems like both these offenses are going to have trouble getting untracked. But I lean towards the team with the best unit kind of, and that Georgia defense is really, really good.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's hope that this helps our friends in the betting community win a few dollars this weekend. Seth Varnadore, thank you so much. We will get this posted, and we will have much more content around all of these games this weekend starting tomorrow. Also, I'm going to bring in a little breakdown of all the teams, where they are statistically at 2-0, 1-1, 0-2. Everybody's played at least 2 games this season. And we're going to have that up tomorrow morning as well. So give you some idea of how to start to put together this insane, crazy season, which is difficult to handicap. But if you can find some angles, there is definitely value to be had, and not just in looking at injury reports. That's for sure. All right. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.